Cameras are still rolling, same take, sound rolling, take two, BGG, and in
3, 2. Isn't it cool, by the way? It's kind of cool, right? What's going on, everybody? It's me, Asad Hashim Ali, back again with another episode of Behind the Grind. And today we have a very special guest, someone who I've been trying to get on the show for quite some time. But unfortunately, it keeps getting rescheduled. But today we made it happen. Zoha, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. But how have you been? How's everything going?
Good.
Yeah.
Things are a bit stressful at work, but we're pushing through.
Yeah. So I asked Zoha to come on because if you can't tell already, Zoha is the founder of Zonanos. It's home-based, not a home-based anymore, right? But it started from a house. We'll get into what it is, what she's doing, what the story was like. But I called her on because I feel like, the whole talk of startups and corporate world is great, but sometimes we don't give appreciation to those that are working in small businesses or starting off things on their own from their homes. The last guest, Rafe, founder of Waggles, started off from his home. Zoha, Zonanos, started off from her home. But Zoha, tell us all a little bit about, firstly, what is Zonanos?
So Zonanos is a line of organic hair products, and we're kind of going for the modern South Asian girl. So I feel like all the totkas and the recipes of our ancestors are now kind of being used in like I don't want to be mean, but like in the whitewash world, like,
Yeah.
basically American, British, all of these people, like brands like Lush, are basically selling products that we've had within our homes, like DIY totkas that we've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
making. It kind of started from there when I was in uni and I was looking at all these products and I was like, wait, this is for like $25. Like, I make this at home with my nanny like every weekend. So it kind of started from there. And then, even though it's definitely not something that's new to people, we tried to make it, our brand, an accessible brand for both the masses and both the woman that's on the go. And so that's how it started with the oil. This is a very random thing that I'm sharing, but I
Yeah.
feel like whenever people talk about like hair oils, it's always about like, oh, I like it, but it just smells so bad.
Yeah.
So when we were starting the product, we really had to make sure that it had like almost minimal to no smell,
Yeah.
which is kind of new in the oil field, I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
say. That's basically how it started. And then we branched off to newer products that would all cater to people that are relatable to me and you, but also to any Pakistani woman or man that's using hair products.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
this started off as just a little experiment, right?
Yeah, I think most people don't know this, but I was actually like saving up money to start another business. Thought I'd go
Really?
into like the food industry.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I thought I'd start like these Nepali dumplings that are called momos abroad. They're like sold like worldwide, but they're not in Pakistan. So I was just like, I've asked my parents for so much money because of uni and stuff. Now it's the time that if I start a business, I have to save up. So while I was doing this, I was like, hey, there's like a product at home that I really love.
Yeah.
Why don't I like sell a few, save that money, and spend it on my other business? And then this kind of became viral because of social media, thanks to like pages like Soul Sisters and Soul Bitches. And it
just
just like
spread.
blew up. And then like 2 months later, I was like, I should go backwards and now have a Facebook page and now have a brand name. So it always like backwards. We first sold the product and then we made the brand.
Uh-huh.
So-
And that's what people don't get sometimes. Like it's very new. It's somewhat foreign also, especially in the tech world. It's very foreign to sell something that doesn't have a brand, doesn't have everything set up before. But this was when did this start?
This started in Feb 2017, so around
Okay.
6 years now.
And you were still in uni at that time?
No, I had just graduated. It had been 6 months, and I kept telling everyone that I want to work for a startup.
Yeah.
And then, my friends and my brother, they're all just like, why would you want to work for a startup when you can have one yourself?
Yeah.
And I was like, I never thought of that. And that's when it got to the momos, and that's what led to Zonanos. And I just remember that in the beginning, because I didn't have a Facebook page or an Instagram page, I would be like answering my inbox for like hours. Like that's
Yeah.
all I remember doing in the first 3 months. Like I remember I would keep replying till 3 a.m. and then wake up at like 9 a.m. and then start replying again. And also because there was no website, I had to take individual like addresses of people, then make an Excel for that day and then send it age. And sometimes people would just be like, I live in block 32, then next sentence, Clifton, and then next sentence, phase 5. And I'm just like, please write in one message so I can just like easily copy and paste. But it was basically like I'd copy one message, then the other, then their name, then their phone number. So this sounds like really small in the bigger picture. But I remember when I was starting, I was just like, look, kaise karte hain? And then after a while, I was like, wait, people have websites. That's what people do. I can do that. But my website came like a year and a half or 2 years after I started the brand.
And by that time, you already took it seriously. You're like, okay, this is something that I can really invest my time in.
I
Or
think
you were
I
still in
started
the Momo phase.
No, I think after the first 2 months, I think I was like, okay, I should do this for a bit and see how it goes. And like, touch wood, I'm so glad it is here.
Nice.
So
So before we get into the rest of the journey on Zonanos, in 2017, you thought about after uni going straight into your own business, but because I know you personally, I think that was when you were doing your masters, right?
no, actually, I thought I would do my master's eventually, but
Okay.
us fucked. I was just like, okay, let's see where it goes. I definitely didn't want to study again.
Okay.
I was just like, and I felt too guilty asking my parents for like more tuition money. So I was like, okay, I can't do this right now. So I definitely didn't think about it then, but it took me a while to feel like I did do a lot of job apps when I was in the States, and I thought I'm going to go into like a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I didn't because I still haven't, and I don't even know what that feels like.
And that's what I mean. That's actually the question itself. Is like, how easy was it for you to get convinced by your siblings and your parents? Ki just khud ka kar lo jo bhi karna hai. Why are you going and working for someone else right now?
Honestly, it wasn't easy at all. I think that there was a lot of self doubt where I was just like, I don't know. And, like, I feel like when you think of businesses, now startup culture is like, definitely booming in Pakistan. But I
Yeah.
feel like even 6 years ago, it was like whoever is doing a business is like, I feel really bad saying this, but like, apne ammi abbu ke paise pe, and I definitely didn't have that where I was like, Baba, can I do this branch of your business? Like, that was not a thing. My parents were both doctors. They were like, get into a 9 to 5. We don't know what's happening. And I was just like, okay, just give me a bit. And they definitely trusted me. They weren't forcing me into doing things. So that was nice of them to trust in so because of them and then the other people saying that don't work for a startup and do it, I was just like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Why would I do that?
Okay.
So that was the whole process. It
Alright.
was difficult, but
Yeah.
once it started, I was like, this is my calling.
But if you were to actually work somewhere else, what do you think you would have been doing at this time?
That's a very difficult question, but I feel like it would be something to do with a social media or marketing agency.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like that's such a basic answer, but that is what I would be doing.
But I follow you guys and you do a great job at it, so it would be a natural fit.
Yeah, that is definitely my forte in the business.
Huh.
That part is definitely. I hate doing HR. I hate operations. I hate accounts. For the life of me, I can't do numbers. But marketing is something I'm like, okay, I know this.
So, cool. So how has the journey been so far? Tell me in terms of like key milestones. So this is how I define it, right? Like in 1 year you start off with like 10 orders a month, 20 orders a month. What was that trajectory like for you?
So this is kind of funny because when I started, I was like, okay, I need like a delivery service that, delivers the product. So pehle we started with Karachi. Then I'm not going to name the company, but it's like a famous company that is a service, transport service. And they told us that technically we're not allowed to send liquids,
Okay.
but under the table, we'll do it for you. So I was like, okay, that sounds kind of legit in Pakistani terms. I was like, let's go ahead with it. So I remember when I was talking to them on the phone, I was like, my mom and I were driving and we were in the car passing Zamzam. I still remember it clearly. And I was talking to them and I was like, oh, so they were like, kitne order honge hafte ke? And I was just like, like 30, 35. And my mom looked at me at that time. She's like, what are you saying? You get like 2 orders a day. It's like, don't lie to them. Like, otherwise they won't do it. And I was
2
like,
orders a
"Shh."
day.
Yeah, like that was 2 orders a day. And I was like, 35 for sure. And then my mom just looked at me and she was like doing this. And I was like, just leave it. Like, this is how it's going to get done. Like,
Yeah,
otherwise
yeah.
they won't take me seriously.
It's like, I know what I'm doing, mom.
Yeah, even though I really didn't. But I was just like, yeah, okay. So they were like, okay, 30, 35. Okay, we can manage. And then I put the phone down. She's like, what are you thinking? And I was just like, let's just see. And you know the line, Allah Malik hai. I was like, Allah Malik hai, kuch ho jayega. And then I remember like 2 weeks later, we got our first review by like just a random person on one of these social media pages. And her hair, like the transformation with 2 uses was like fab. And she posted her before after, and oh my God, the sales after that, like, and also with my own pictures, because that's what I posted initially. I remember they were like, right now, I think a few months ago, I went back on that post. It has like about like 1,700 comments saying that, oh, we want to buy this and stuff. So, well, that was the 2 order a day phase. And then like 6 months later, it definitely like tripled.
Wow.
And then a year later, it was like, it went back smoothly. It was like a sustainable, stable business. And then right before COVID hit, our biggest like milestone was Mavra Hussain, the actress, messaged us. And out of the blue, so one thing I definitely believed in the beginning was that I'm not going to pay someone to write a post for us, or like I'm not going to do a sponsored post. I won't send it to a blogger. Like whoever likes it
Completely
will like
organic.
it, completely organic. And it wasn't more about being like cocky. It was more about that I wanted to know that this product and this brand is doing well on its own, like for my own sake. So when that happened and she loved the products and she started writing, then we kind of blew up again. And that was the second milestone, I would say, in terms of growth. And then the third was actually COVID.
Okay.
COVID was like a great time for all self-care businesses.
Yeah.
And I think startups in general that cater to people at home, that was definitely like a key milestone. We did a lot of challenges. I took it up, and I think then I had, till COVID, I didn't have another team member. I was doing
Really?
this. Yeah, so that would be like 3 years of me doing
Yeah.
it myself, from the operations to the packing to the finance to
And
every single
just to break
thing.
it down, when
Yeah.
you say operations, you don't just mean like getting the product out. You mean like even the
The making.
manufacturing, the labeling, the filling, all of
Yeah,
that.
so I would take some help from my house cook, which my mom was really upset about. She's just like, "वो खाना नहीं पका रहा, तेल बना रहा है."
Literally,
So-
tel lene gaya.
I was just like, नहीं वो कर रहा है, वो रात के लिए कुछ पका रहा है. And then I'd be like, come, let's pack some orders. Like, so that definitely happened quite a bit. So I like had like a side, obviously pay for them outside of them being like a cook at my house. And my
Yeah.
mom was, again, not very happy with that. But, at the same time, she was just like, okay, you do you. Like, whatever happens, we're here to support you. So then it was a very family-oriented business. Like, I have multiple videos of all 3 of my siblings, like, packing orders, my dad putting stickers on, my mom,
I
like...
remember there was one Eid a couple of years ago, and I saw you put up a video of your dad, your mom, your brother. All of you had like this little chain made.
Yeah, it was basically
One's
like an
spilling,
assembly
one's-
line in
yeah,
our
it was an assembly
lounge.
line. Yeah, it was very sweet. And I again, this is why I've called you on, is because I really love hearing these stories, and I feel like they don't get enough. They're not getting enough attention.
Right.
You've said you've called yourself a startup multiple times already. And we don't stop to think, like, yeah, well, a business like this is a startup,
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to get your thoughts on this a little bit as well. But please finish. Actually, I cut you off. What was the
you're
next
fine.
milestone?
Yeah,
The-
but these were basically the COVID time was definitely a milestone. And then we definitely ended up getting like a few more celebrities on board, like completely organically, thanks to Mavra. And, we had like Hiramani message us, and Anusha Ashraf, Misha Shafi, like all of these people. I don't know if you know Usman Mukhtar. He was like really trending that time. He had
The
like a really
singer?
famous... No, he comes in Pakistani dramas.
Okay.
And
That's Umar Mukhtar, who's the singer, I think.
yeah, no, but this is Usman Mukhtar. And, he had a really like trending show then. And he randomly messaged us saying that, hey, like I want to try your oil. And we were like, what? And we made like multiple memes on him, which he really appreciated. but from his drama basically.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that was like a, and now it's like back to like obviously inflation and stuff. So I would say like right now the businesses are a bit low. So we are really like focusing on getting our organic customers back again,
Okay.
and launching new products,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like pivoting our thing into making like also more hair accessories on top of just hair products.
So really becoming self-care, not
Yeah.
not just like hair oil, but
So
self-care as a
basically,
whole.
like everything hair care, I would say.
Okay.
But that hair care doesn't necessarily just mean like products. So, for instance, like an accessory would be our microfiber towel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something we like kind of went towards, and it was a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking in those terms about how to make like life easier when you're doing hair care. So I would say that that is like one of our USPs, to be able to make things simpler.
Mm-hmm.
So this would definitely be one of them.
So a few questions are coming to mind. Bear with me. Um, what got you to realize is that you should probably build more capacity? Like you spent 3 years, and these were, I would say, any 3 years before COVID, you could kind of say in a way were like golden years. For some businesses, COVID as well was a golden year. Unfortunately, from that point on, things have been quite bumpy.
Yeah.
3 years from 2017 till 2020, add in the fourth year. What got you to realize 4 years later, or what were you waiting for to actually build capacity in these 4 years?
I think the first time that I actually employed someone, and thank God for that person, she was my first intern. And I remember that I was basically, we had a in COVID, as soon as lockdown hit, which was like, I think April, everything was shut. There was nothing to do. And we launched a 30-day hair care challenge. So every day we would have a challenge up, and you had to follow it, and you could do it from things that were at home. So, people started doing it. We got a lot of traction. And then one day I just see this message where it said, "Hey, can I work for you? I want to do your social media or help you with it. And here's my resume. And here, um, actually, no, she said, here's my resume." And I was just like, "Hey, like, I don't think we need someone, but okay, sure. Like, send me like a meme, like that you've made yourself." Like,
Okay.
that's a very random question I came up with. And she was just like, "Okay." And she made like a really funny one that I ended up posting. And I was like, "Okay, maybe I should get someone on board." And she was the first employee. And then a bit later, I was like, "Wait, I can afford to get more people. Why am I like dying right now?"
Yeah.
So then we started, like, I think like 6 months later, I employed another, 7 months later, I would say, I employed another person that handled operations. So my cook was thankfully spared by me. And he was just sticking to one job. And yeah, so we got like another person then. And we kind of did that for another like a year and a half. And then I got a graphic designer. And then I got like a person who replies to DMs, and then I got like a labor, and then staff kept increasing with that. But I definitely was very stingy in the beginning, because this my best friend, he was telling me that he comes from a very family of like everyone doing businesses, and he was like, with businesses, like one day you can be like high up, and the next day it could be like poop.
Yeah.
And so like just be careful. And so every time like I would think about like, oh, I should expand the number of people that work for me, I'd be like, no, I don't know if I have like the resources right now. But the second I started employing another person, work didn't go down. So I was like, I'm just limiting the business by like making sure that I micromanage everything. Like, this is not sustainable. I think it was that moment where I was like, okay, like I need to hire more people, because even when I'm hiring, the work is still the same. That means abhi to bahut sara aur kaam hai jo kiya hi nahi hai humne.
Yeah.
So once that started happening, I realized the benefits of having like another person, and the benefit of me like not dying over like
Yeah.
100
Like
page
letting go of
to-do list.
control gives you time to think a little bit
I
as well.
definitely have a big problem with control. Like,
Yeah.
I really struggle with it in
Uh-huh.
personal life as well. So this
Uh-huh.
business was like positive reinforcement. It was like, हाँ, और control, ये भी तुम देखो, वो भी तुम देखो. But then eventually I had to be like, okay, I have to let go some things.
So, did the thought ever come to you, like when you look back at it now, do you feel like you were waiting? So, there's one argument where you could say, like, I'm waiting to have cash in the bank, right? So that there's that safety, there's that security as well. You don't want to potentially, you don't want to bring someone on and then unfortunately let them go because you've
For
run
sure.
dry,
For
right?
sure.
So that I understand, but was there a thought going through your mind that you first want to understand every element of the base business until you start passing it on to somebody else, right? Like graphic designer. I remember I even reached out to you a long time ago asking if you needed any help as well. And I think you were looking for someone at that time too. But if you're saying that the graphic designer came after that, whenever that time frame was, I can see how you would first want to get used to that and then pass it on. Make a template, get an understanding of what goes into that particular area of work, understand all the tasks, and then pass it on. Was that going through your mind, or was it just that you couldn't understand like where everything was going, so that's why it was just going freely and organically as well?
I would definitely say that this whole business has been like moving on its own pace, like, and very free and very organic. As much as I've tried to like control or understand, it's just like has a life of its own. Like before, it used to be like, oh, Zonanos is like an extension of me, and now it's just like Zonanos is a completely different thing and I am completely different. Like our personalities are no longer the same, you
Yeah.
know. And so when I was doing this, I was definitely not thinking actively that. So
Yeah.
basically, I feel like because this business had like a mind of its own, I definitely was not thinking about anything कि oh ये पहले मुझे समझना है और फिर मैं किसी और को समझाऊंगी. But I think that with time that just happened naturally where I knew that hey like if अगर मैं तुम्हें ये नहीं बता सकती कि ये mood board है, but I'll tell you that our audience is like this. They're not gonna understand XYZ. They will understand this. Like we're not this. So I kind of had like an image of what the personality of the brand is.
Okay.
So once I knew the personality, that was easy to translate. So I didn't get into the specifics, but I just realized that with every new employee, they were coming with like way more I would say like content or way more ideas that weren't even crossing through my head. So once they came in, they were adding so much value. Yes, value. They were adding like insane value. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is why I need more people. So the one thing that I would see whenever I was hiring someone were sales. Like it all came down to that. I was like, if the business is growing, I can afford to, and the business is growing consistently. I would give it like 3 months of growth, be like, okay, we can afford this. We can get another person. We can afford this. Abhi need hai, iski need nahi hai. I can do it. So I was very controlling where I was like, jahan main kar sakti hu, I'll do it. But with time, I was like, I have to focus on the expansion and the scaling of this. So even if I have time, I can't put my head to this. I have to let another person do it. So that's where it went.
And when did you, how did you pick up on all of this as well? Like you just said something very interesting. Is like in corporate speak, it's like check someone's KPIs. Are they meeting those KPIs? Is it adding into our bottom line? If it's not, the person has to go or the person's not justified to the business. That's
Yeah.
basically what you're doing. How did that come to your mind? Like, was this like you were reading up as well side by side on how to run a small business more effectively, or was it just like coming naturally to you?
I never read anything. I never read anything at
Or
all.
were you getting advice? Because like your
I
parents
was
are
not
doctors.
getting advice. Yeah.
So-
I don't know. Actually wanted to, like, this is really funny. You know how you're saying KPIs? I remember till like 2 years ago, I was like, someone said that to me in an interview. And I was like, I just looked later after they left. I was like, what does KPI mean? Because I'm like a psych major.
Yeah.
So I literally don't know anything. And it sounds like ridiculous, and I'm being honest about it, but I literally didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And everything about this business has been through my gut. So like from hiring and to scaling to branding, everything is based on the gut. And, many times I haven't gone with the gut and gone with what the traditional approach is, and that hasn't suited me. I would say that, like, I definitely have, like, these really unconventional ways of hiring people. So when I did need, like, a social media person, I remembered that instead of, like, anyone submitting their resume, they had to do, like, 3 sample captions for, like, a post that we've already posted, and, like, 2 things they'd want to change about the brand and how it'll help with growth. So these were like 5 questions. That was everyone's interview, essentially, a digital interview. And that's all we did.
And did you have that same kind of approach to other roles, like operations? What would you do?
No, operations and stuff where it's like a very like, this is the name of the game, like X and Y and Z, and that's it. So for that, it would just be like efficiency. And this sounds like very cliche, but like respect. I've definitely had people disrespect me because I'm a woman, I'm young, I'm in this business for the first time. They think that I don't know my shit. So that was a process. And I would say that that's consistently been something that I deal with, whether it's like vendors or retailers, even I wouldn't say clients, but definitely employees as well, where it was like a process of earning their respect.
Yeah.
It wasn't like something that came naturally. Like I
Yeah.
feel like if I was a man and someone came in the office, there would be like instant respect ya dar ya jo bhi ke oh inki to main nahi bol sakta.
Yeah.
Whereas with me it was a lot like वापस से like बोलना कुछ बदतमीजी करना या कुछ करना या कि ये हमें नहीं करना बस हमसे नहीं हो रहा and walking off and being rude.
Yeah.
That was definitely something. So that was a big thing on my
How did
list.
you work on that? Because that's something that I wanted to touch upon as well. Like, how have you actually worked on that so far? And unfortunately, it's not something that's gone forever from your life. It
100% not.
could come back again, right? But how did you deal with it? And what have you brought in something different in the way you work, in the way people see you, or in what you say, how you say things? Has that changed?
I think that initially, like during my first 2 years, so first 2 years after hiring someone, not the first 2 years of Zonanos, but when I first hired people, I could tell that they are not respecting me. And what I did once was that we had to stock at a retailer. I can say the name. It was Nahid, and it was like a pretty big supermarket. So we
Yeah.
really wanted to get there. And I remember that. So I'm pretty good with talking and like convincing. I've done sales in my uni.
Okay.
So I knew that I could get people on board, but I was like, hey, like today I was just like, why don't you, my employee, I was like, why don't you go and talk to them and convince them and tell them that we're already in like Agas and forum and whatever. So aap bhi rakh lein. And I was like, it shouldn't be so difficult. So go. And he was like, okay. And he went there, and obviously, like, they were like, okay, get lost. Like, we're not even going to consider you. What is this brand? We've never heard of it. And you just have one product. Like, what is this? And he came back and he was just like, bro, like, you cannot get into Nahid. Like, that's not going to happen. They're like one product and this and that. I remember, and I was just like, okay, like, and I was not being cocky at that point, but I was a bit scared. I was like, oh, mana kar diya, वापस जाना पड़ेगा, देखते हैं, मुझे भी मना नहीं कर दें. But again, like trusting my gut, and I went there, and I was with the employee, and I took the employee with me, and I remember talking to him and convincing him, and I remember like the employee was just looking at me like, what is happening? How is she doing this? And
It's called fairy dust, bitch.
yeah. But yeah, like I still wish that I didn't have to do that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, do I have to show? Like, I was just like, bhai, business यहाँ से यहाँ कौन लेकर आया? मैं ही तो लेकर आई हूँ. Like,
Yeah.
who employed you? Like, if I wasn't like this, how would it happen? So I remember that was like, I could tell that he was impressed, but also it was just like, really, like, इससे पहले नहीं था. And so that was like initially to gain that respect. But then eventually what happened is that I had to be like insanely strict and like borderline just be like in a bad mood all the time, or like pretend to be like not conversing too much. And that's not who I am. Like, I love talking. So I'm just like, what's up? Like, what'd you eat at home today? Like, how are
Yeah.
your kids? Or what's happening? And then I just realized that with a woman who's doing that with the man, आप free कर रहे हैं उसे.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just like, भाई मैं बस normal बात कर रही हूँ, उसमें free श्री का क्या है? But that's something like everyone would tell me and it would really bother me. But then, yeah, so eventually I had to be like really like strict at some points. Ki, nahi, this is this and no one is going away, or
Yeah.
this has to be done. And that's not usually how I operate, but it had to be done to get like that initial respect. So yeah, it's just a process. I'm back to just like being like conversing and acting like I'm one of them. So but I feel like someone once told me, they were like, no one likes their bosses, Zoha, so don't try to be liked. And I was just like, why? I'm trying. Like, I thought I liked them, they like me. But yeah, like, I mean, it's still a process. I just have to be okay with the fact that there's like a boundary.
Yeah.
So I have to maintain it and they have to maintain it. So
But like, it's kind of something that I'm sure you've figured out how to establish it from the get-go also, and maybe set those boundaries for people, not necessarily of working with you directly, but then also within the group.
100%, yeah. Now that when people are like approaching me for like a collaboration or a project, I'm like, ये मैं नहीं कर रही, ये मैं मुफ्त में नहीं कर रही, ये आपको ये करना है, वो करना है. Before I used to be very like a people pleaser, so I would just say yes to everything. But now that I know the worth of my brand, I definitely
And
don't compromise.
that's something that I feel like also comes with time. I feel like some people are put that up and become very specific or particular a bit too soon also. But it seems like you've done the whole trial and error, right? You've seen what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Again, how does it affect the KPIs?
Yeah, the KPIs.
Right? So when you were mentioning the at home, right? Another question that when like a whole what would you say, assembly line. Um, Another question that comes to mind by hearing that, and I still remember the stories as well. I really like the work you put out, by the way. Sorry,
Thanks.
but do you seek advice from people, or do you have like a select group of mentors that you're constantly consulting or speaking to as well to figure out how to do this? Or how to do
Um,
this better? Sorry, like one thing's for sure, and this is something that I feel like we tend to forget that the person who started the business and who's there at the top, is the one who's putting in the most amounts of love, the most amounts of time into it, the most amounts of energy. So sometimes, as you said, your shit. I'm no one to come and just give you like unsolicited advice or,
But that's very common in Pakistan.
yeah.
Every single person. Here's some advice I'd like to give you. I've never done this business. I don't know what this field is, but I'll tell you what to do.
But you have to increase your margins and do this and
हाँ
be
हाँ
there.
हाँ.
And
Lots of uncles have been like, अगर आप एक फैक्ट्री में ये डालें ना तो ऐसा होगा. I'm like, भाई फैक्ट्री नहीं है, कहाँ से लेकर आऊँ, आप कहाँ पहुँच गए? Like very
and शायद
ridiculous.
factory के goals भी ना हो.
हाँ मतलब I just like one year and out the other. I'm
Yeah.
like sure.
But so like, do you take that? But to complete that thought, it was like we should all realize is that the person who started it knows their shit. So let's not go ahead and like just try to either throw water all over their efforts or tell them how to do something better. But you are the one again who everything stops at you, and for 4 years staying consistent and staying motivated is also very difficult. I'm sure when you started off, you didn't think you'd start with the microfiber
Yeah, no,
towels,
hell no.
right?
Yeah.
So, what do you have a group of people that you speak to on the regular or that you seek advice from?
I would say that my siblings and my best friends, I definitely like run things by them. But you know how I think I've learned this in psych, but you know when you ask someone that, oh, like, should I do this or should I do that? And they say like, oh, do this. But in your head, like the instant answer comes, jo aapko originally karna tha. It could be what they're saying or it could be the other one, but you just know it instantly once they give an answer. So I do this all the time where I'm like, do you think we should do this price or this? And they'll be like this. I'm like, no, actually dusri karni chahiye. So that is my way of seeking advice. But I'm not saying I always do what I feel like is best. I've definitely taken advice from my siblings, my friends who've been like, this doesn't seem appropriate for the brand, or this is a trajectory you should take it to, or this is where you should invest more time in. So I definitely think that I don't think I could do it just by myself, but I like that I can soak in all this knowledge and then make an informed decision.
Okay.
It still kind of ends up with me. So it's bad for my control, but it's great for my personality. I'm like, I'll make it.
But what about, and what are your thoughts on mentorship?
I would love to mentor people.
But do you
I have
do you
not
seek
had a mentor
mentorship
yet.
yourself? Do you seek it?
I not at this time, but I don't think that it would be like field specific. I just like talking to women in business. So that's definitely something that I just get motivated by, like someone who's ahead of me or someone who's starting, or women that have been just working and even like a 9 to 5 and how they've dealt with like other men or the society, or after marriage or after having kids. Like that for me is very like motivating and inspiring. So I definitely just end up listening to like a lot of women or like seeking out for what they have done. So I think that would be where I would seek advice.
All right, interesting. So, how did you manage to stay motivated and consistent over the 4 years?
Honestly, I've had so many low moments that I can't even count them. Like there have been innumerable days where I've woken up and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like I don't know why am I even good at this? Like, like just a self-doubting kind of
Yeah, yeah.
spiral. And it has been really difficult to get myself to go to work because it kind of all just boils down to me, right? If I'm not doing the work, like I automatically see the sales decreasing because it's not like a self-running machine right now where I can just be like, hey, like everyone do their work, and I'll just like nitpick a few things at the end of the day and be like, ye ho gaya, ye nahi hua, okay, bye. So बहुत ऐसा time था where people were like texting me and I'd just be like, I have to figure this out right now. I think like definitely taking a break. And like even like taking 2-3 days off, like maybe if you have the privilege to like go take a vacation abroad. Like that is the ultimate break.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you don't, like I just feel like taking some time off to do things that you liked before, because the business starts becoming like everything, right? Like it's not just your job, but it's also you seek like passion in, where you are having fun, where you're feeling motivated. And वो जो एक चीज जो सब चीजें प्रोवाइड करी थी, अगर वो अब आपको ये सब नहीं करी, you're like अब मैं क्या करूँ अपनी लाइफ के साथ.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely had like moments where I had to force myself to like paint or read a book. And like in my head I was like, no, like do work. But then the other side was like, bro, you need to take some time off. And like I would literally like Google like how do people take time off. And I remember like I was in I have this snap of like filling my tub and being like, I think that I should take a midday break and just take like a nice hot tub. But at the same time, I'm like making a list of things I have to do once I finish. And so it was like a constant like vicious cycle of me
Yeah.
going through it. And
It's
I
like
think
the breaks end up being part of the routine and not something that stops the routine also.
you're so right. Yeah, that would definitely happen. I think that like even just taking a minute to absorb like what I've done, I don't think like I really struggle with crediting myself for the business. I'm like, nay, like I think till like last year I would be like, it's just the product that's so good. It's nothing to do with me. Like I don't know what I did. Huh, theek hai, if anyone sold this product, they would be good at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously it's not like that. Like there's so many things that go in it. And I feel like once things start getting monotonous in the business is when I lose motivation. So in these moments, I'm like, what can I do differently for the brand? So then once I've taken my hot baths and everything, I start going back to the brand and kind of go to the root of what made this interesting for me. And it was like to come up with new things. And I think that's how the microfiber towel came about. I was just like, I need a new product, like, and I need it to be like completely different.
But was this, sorry, maybe I lost you there, but was it because of complacency in some way, or was it because you were like, we need to go, we need to change something now, we have to add in more?
I think it was a bit of both. I think that I struggled with complacency, and the brand did as well. And there were like a lot of clients who were like, okay, we love the oil, but next. मतलब और कुछ नहीं है, मुझे आपके सारे प्रोडक्ट खरीदने हैं. And we like, oh, बस अभी यही है, you know. And so that was like for the longest we just had like a hair oil, and then
Yeah.
there were two sizes to it, and then there was a dry shampoo, and dry shampoo was like very unique to the market. So
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't understand it for the beginning part of it. And then the pivot of where I kind of gained motivation again was when we came up with the comb bottle. So it's like a comb basically attached to the bottle, and you can put it directly in your hand. The little holes in it.
Yeah.
So it's like direct application without getting your without getting your hands dirty.
Wow.
So I remember that was like a sensation. Everyone was like, "Kaise socha aapne ye?" And that was definitely after like a really low moment, and
Yeah.
then kind of pick myself up with these things.
Okay. All right. So, the question's losing me. Yeah, shit. Hanan, you're gonna have to edit this part a little bit. Yeah, thank you. Fuck. You said. Shut up.
The giggles at the
Shut
back
up.
are not helping.
Now you know what happens behind the scenes. This shit happens behind the scenes. No, not seeking mentorship.
Bro, ये और मत बोलो, मैं कॉकी साउंड को यार, मैं कोई मेंटर नहीं चाहिए मुझे, मैं खुद
हाँ, I guess you don't want a mentor.
skip through this please.
Yeah, it's coming.
Why don't we go
Staying
through the questions?
consistent.
They were really nice. Want me to open it?
I have it. I actually have it open. We've actually covered a lot of it. There was you said the breaks, staying consistent, and then that also goes into like the whole. Yeah, okay, it's coming back. Okay, so Hanan, now this is where you come back. Yes, as you can tell. So now that you've got the comb bottle as a separate product, or that's just a packaging idea?
It's a packaging idea.
Okay, all right. So you've got the hair oil, you've got the dry shampoo, you've got the microfiber towels as well, and I'm sure there'll be more. Over the years, like where do you stand today? Tell me in terms of numbers, in terms of reach, in terms of destinations like markets and stuff. Yeah, markets is the right word. Where are you how's your daily order count looking, and what's in the plan right now for the next year? You're planning for 23. You can choose not to answer that question,
Not to answer.
but markets you can't share either.
No, let's not get into it.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, you came up with a question, it's gone.
Shit, it's there. Export potential. Can you answer that?
Yeah, sure. Fine.
But you don't have to give it in terms of your own product. Like you can say, okay, I've spoken to people. I get messages overseas. I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's
Right?
go through that, the international shipping.
Okay. So with now that you got like 3 products being made, being sold, 4 years, right? And
6.
6 years.
6 years next year, yeah.
Oh, 6 years. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 6 years next year. What do you feel like has been? What have you learned about the landscape, the economic landscape, especially in Pakistan, but then also overseas? And I'm saying overseas because of the expat Pakistanis. I'm sure word spread.
So we actually get like a lot of questions from the subcontinent. So we have Indians messaging us like daily almost, and a lot of Bangladeshis, yeah, and we get queries from Dubai, London, USA. So this did happen that initially, like, I just carried some bottles with me, and I thought that okay, like I'll just give it to like a friend who really wanted to use it. And then once I reached Dubai, she wanted one. She's like, oh, you got me so many, like you can just sell the rest. And I was like, wait, I could. And then we kind of just put up like a Facebook post saying that, oh, we have like 5-6 bottles if anyone wants them. And within 10 minutes, it was like sold out.
Wow.
And there's just like a small quantity, but I was like really surprised by the reach we have. And right now, for instance, on like Instagram, we have like about like 78K followers. So obviously, they're like people from all over the world who end up visiting Pakistan, whether it's in December or for Eid or like summer vacation. So all of these people, we have them like packing the order and taking it. So we had to change the packaging for that also, by the way. Like we had to come up with like a seal cap situation because people were just like, we're so scared of carrying this. What if oil har jagah gir jaye? And I was just like, yeah, actually, like I don't know what to say to that. Like I used to be like, freeze the bottle and take it. But now we ended up having like a different packaging for that, and then we ended up introducing it in our daily orders as well. So I feel like because of these kind of queries, you keep learning and you keep changing the product. And we're definitely looking into expanding the market, like maybe basing it off Dubai and then reaching out to like all of these
Wow.
places. The biggest problem right now is that for some reason, I don't want to get into it, but like a few years ago, there was like a mishap in Pakistani transportation, and it's really actually like someone apparently like carried some drugs in the liquid that they were transporting, and then since then I don't know if this
Was
is
this
true.
of your product?
Not us,
Okay,
not
okay.
us, but like just like literally like decades ago this happened. I don't know if this is a rumor, but this is what someone told me. And for that reason, like liquids exporting is like on a smaller scale is very difficult.
Oh.
So
So like a lot of regulations basically.
a lot of regulations, but also just like a ban almost. So we really struggle with it because other companies, for instance, like clothing and stuff, they can send it worldwide without an issue from Pakistan. But liquids always had an issue, and we're kind of still in the process of it. For instance, we like got in touch with like DHL and FedEx, and initially they told us, hey, like liquids are banned. This was about like 3 years ago. And we spoke to them again like 6 months ago, and they were like, okay, it's open, but the delivery charges are like $100 to get to Dubai. And I was like, no one's gonna pay $100 for a piece of oil. You know what I mean? So we're kind of looking into other options. There are a lot of logistic companies that do this, but for smaller brands, it's definitely more difficult. So we're just in the process of figuring that out, and alongside like figuring out certifications for the country that we send it to. We definitely don't want to get stopped by customs or have any issues, which a lot of people do. KPIA का मकसद ही यही है कि you know under the table, so we definitely don't want to go that route. So we're looking into getting like a lot of these certifications to make it easier for us.
All right. And what's the year looking like now? 2023. What's the plan? Anything big that you have in store, or do you feel like you just need to focus and consolidate things now also?
No, it's definitely has to be the year of expansion. So we're going to be looking at new products, more like hair accessories, more hair products, and the biggest thing that's been on my bucket list is the same, like international shipping. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we lose out on a lot of clients, and we have in the past. Like, it's been 6 years. This should be time that this
Mm-hmm.
becomes international, but we're still in the process of figuring it out. So those three things are definitely like I just have to get them done. There's no way. Next year.
All right. And next year will be the 6th year,
The
right?
6th year.
I'm actually gonna try and now like wrap all of this up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but where do you, if you look back at these 6 years, what do you feel like you have learned the most? Like the way you just mentioned also what 23 looks like, um, the words you're using, right? You've got divisions made in your head. You know how sales has to happen. You know how the marketing has to happen. None of these things you build structure to instantly. They have to be built in real time. And I feel like uh, at times we are too quick to jump the gun, or we tend to jeopardize the brand and all the hard work because something went wrong along the way and somebody didn't focus on that. What do you feel like you've learned in the past 6 years that you are definitely going to be keeping in mind, or that you now know? Actually, let me rephrase. Sorry. What have you learned in the past 6 years that you feel like has helped you become more disciplined in building structure and in making sure that there's consistency within the business now? Now it's not Zoha. Now it's Zonanos.
Yeah.
There are people. You've got customers. You've got regular customers as well. You've got shelf space as well. So tell me a little bit about that.
So I'll answer this in two parts. The first being that what got me disciplined and what I would keep forever. But the other part is also like things that I've learned that I wish someone told Zoha 6 years ago, or any person actually starting a business. So the first half would be what I want to maintain. I feel like the fact that I've tried to keep things organic, I would never want to change that. And, of course, like I would want like Mahira Khan, for instance, using Zonanos, right? But I would never want to be like, hey, like, Mahira Khan, can you get her to use it? Or like, Mahira Khan, what are your charges for a PR? Like, I never want to get into that. I feel like we've really built this business based on these natural attraction towards like whether it's like customers or celebrities, whatever you want to call it. And so I would want to maintain that. I feel like that keeps me and the brand like humble, and also like valuable and worthy. Like we can say that when a few years later that, hey, like we did this because of us, like no one helped us, or our team kind of figured it out ourselves. And to be able to trust like even the regular laborer that's coming every day to work, like trusting his advice. Like I definitely ask all my employees for advice all the time, and I really try to incorporate it in our everyday, where they're like, hey, like ये ऐसे नहीं करें हम लोग, आज से इस तरह करते हैं, ये help करेगा. So I feel like staying true to the brand, and kind of not just becoming like really frivolous and cocky and being like अब तो इतना कर लिया है बस खत्म,
हमसे एक बन गया.
अब सेठ बन गए, and this Seth word is also hated by like my family, because all of them are like in jobs, so they're like Seth wala business, and I'm like nahi, mera aisa nahi hai, so I really try to stay away from that and just be like a team, and not that I'm the boss. And I would say that I think that a lot of brands really do shy away from the fact that we are desi. So, we're starting to get towards like the minimal packaging, or, very like aesthetically pleasing and one pastel color kind of branding. Since the beginning, I've been like, not, I wouldn't say averse to it, but I've been like, this is not us. I'm going to celebrate desi culture. I'm going to celebrate the fact that we're Pakistani. We're going to use like Minglish, like Roman English, Roman Urdu, sorry, and in our captions. And like sometimes in the beginning, I would feel like, oh, ye koi judge to nahi karega if I put this, or is this meme like cheap, or are people even doing this, whatever. I would really question it. But I innately am like a very, very desi Pakistani person. So I never want to let go of that from my own personality.
Yeah.
And I never want that to like be taken away from Zonanos, whether we're international or whether we stay local, whatever it is. I feel like the essence of the brand kind of lies in the fact that we're like Pakistani, and we like started off home based. We're not one of those like big shot like factory owners that are, you know, doing everything in this system, we really went from zero to wherever we are right now. So I think I would maintain that. I think that 6 years ago, like, I didn't know this, but it lucked out for me, and I definitely wanted, you know, everyone to kind of go about this whenever they're starting a new business. It would be to stick to one thing, for like consistently for like at least 2 years. But if one, that's also fine. Whether it's a service, whether it's a product, stick to one. Figure everything out with just that specific thing. It's going to help you learn so much, and the stress will come with it. But because you're going to perfect that one, the next one will be so much easier.
Yeah.
So I think that I would have loved to know that like shuru mein, because I took a lot of guilt with the fact that whenever a retailer used to be like, bus ek product hai, and I used to be like, oh my God, like when am I launching something else like this? And I didn't do it, but I took a lot of stress for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, now, like, you know, there's the damn word, like hustle, keep hustling. I hate that word. So, but I used to be like, oh, I'm not hustling enough. I'm not coming up with more products enough. And, you know, but I just like trusted my gut, and I was like, hey, like with that 1 or 2 product, you got where you are, aage bhi ho jayega. So I feel like gut and sticking to one thing is
Even the persistence in that builds confidence also.
100%. So whenever someone asks me about that one specific product, I know everything. I'm not going to be taken off guard. Ke, oh, वैसे इसमें ये, I don't know. वैसे that's not true. I got taken off guard many times. People be like, so what is like your value of your company? I'll be like, what? Like, and then people are like, KPI. I'm like, what? So yeah, that happened quite a bit. So I wouldn't say ऐसे में बहुत confident.
But do you think about these things now? Like, do you feel like, okay, now I need to think about maybe adding in even more structure or having things documented in a particular way?
Because yeah. I try to translate that more with my employees. I'm like, hey, if you're doing this, try to have like a strategy, like have like ye cheezein to consistently karni hai, iske upar kuch aur karna hai, that's up to you, but I need like a list of things that you're going to do today. I'm like a crazy to-do list fan, so I just make list of everything. So we have like a board at office, and everyone's like, you know, kind of JD is almost up there, like in a funny way. But you know, things that people have to do, and then we kind of just go through that and then keep changing it as time comes. But that's something that's in a funny kind of structure that we try to implement.
Say, cool. So as long as it's staying lively and actionable also.
Yeah, I try to make office like fun. I feel like I crack really lame jokes and stuff, but hey, they have to laugh. So
You are the saint, right?
so
So, Zoha, last question. This is something that I ask everybody. If you could go back in time and you could meet your younger self, right?
how young?
Way young,
Okay,
right? Like,
like high school.
could be younger, could even be older, could be maybe at the start of all of this as well. What would you, if you could go back in time and you could meet your younger self, what would you say to her?
But it's not related to businesses. That's okay.
It could be anything at all. It could be anything at all.
I would say that being kind is cool. This is a very random advice, but I definitely, like when I was younger, I just had thought that I had to be like really mean or bitchy or whatever to gain confidence, or like people who are mean or bitchy are cool. But that's definitely not the case. So I feel like if I went back, I'd just be like, just stick to the person who's being kind, and like that'll be enough. And I think I realized that like a bit later, probably like 8th, 9th grade. But I remember like school initially was not tough, but I did struggle with like self-confidence. So I think that, and you know, I kind of surrounded myself with people who I thought were cool, but not necessarily nice. So I think that I would just be like, being kind is cool. I definitely go with that motto right now also. I don't hang out. Like post-COVID, I've just like stopped talking to people who I think are like not kind. And it's definitely had a amazing impact in my life. Like maybe I sound mean, like that I cut people out, but it was necessary for my mental health. And I feel like if I started this at a young age, like I don't know what would change, but I wish I'd started at a younger age.
Very good answer. You're the first one to give that answer. Actually, nobody said that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's actually, this is the most unique answer for the question. Otherwise, we always get the same thing, like brush your teeth.
What?
Nobody said that. Everybody said some very insightful things, also very thoughtful things. But kindness is cool. That's the first. So you win this round. But you know, like I'm hearing all of this, and now that it's like downtime for the show, I also am curious to know, Do you have any kind of regret for not doing the Momo thing?
That's a great question. Wild. You've thrown me off. No, I think that after Karachi eat and stuff, like I would initially be like, भाई जिसने stall लगाया उसका restaurant खुल गया, मतलब ये मुझे भी करना चाहिए था. But I feel like the food industry is like vicious, and like for instance, like even just like anything can happen. Like you could find a hair in your burger and people start writing on KFD and everything's done and people are like, bye, मैं कभी आनी जा रही and whatever.
At least
I'm
ये
not
पता ना
saying
कि
मेरे
अगर
मोमो में बाल होता. I'm
नहीं,
just
but
saying
you know
that
कि at least अगर तेल में बाल निकल रहा है तो वो शायद उसी का होगा.
ये तो मैं कह सकती हूँ.
हाँ.
I'm kidding. कभी नहीं हुआ ऐसा, guys. But no, I'm just saying that the food industry is like super vicious. There are new, restaurants opening every day, but there are new restaurants closing every day. And
Yeah.
COVID was like terrible for these places.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like COVID जैसी चीजें are normal, but it's just that you just never know. And I feel like with because it's like product plus service, and that's like a very difficult business to be in. So I feel like that's like too much. You're not just looking after the food, you're looking after the chef, the plates, the cleanliness, the waiters, like everyone being nice or mean. Ye sab aapke upar hai. I don't think
it's too many moving parts.
Yeah, too many variables. I wouldn't want to do that.
Chalo. But what's next for Zoha? We'll find out with time, I guess.
Yeah, we'll find out. Thank you so much for having me.
This was fun. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
I hope you actually had a good time.
I did have a good time.
Yeah. A lot of any new thoughts come to you, or no? You've thought
Yeah, I'm
about
kind
all
of
this?
motivated to go back home and work, but this is a boundary issue. I probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I think you should work.
Yeah, no, I have the same issue. Everybody over here is thinking the same thing right now. But thank you, Zoha. Thanks for coming
Thank
on. For all those listening and watching, hope you like this episode. And see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.